It's a privilege to be here and to present a Russian vision of the future of the Arctic. And I would like to thank the organizers for giving the opportunity to do this. The future and the welfare of my country is closely linked to the Arctic. Today, it generates 10% of Russian GDP and 20% of the total Russian export. And the contribution of the Arctic to the sustainable development of Russia with the years to come will be even higher. In the Russian strategic documents adopted by the President, the priority interests of Russia in the Arctic are clearly defined. They are the following: to utilize the resources of the Arctic zone of the Russian Federation to the benefit of the sustainable development of Russia, to ensure peace and cooperation in the Arctic, to preserve the unique Arctic ecosystems, to develop the Northern Sea route. And in all these spheres, we are ready and willing to cooperate with the Arctic states as well as the non-Arctic states. In August this year, the Russian government adopted the state program for socio-economic development of the Arctic zone of the Russian Federation. More than $3 billion are allocated for the purposes of this program. It will be focused on three main objectives: to create the mainstay areas for development in the Arctic, to develop the Northern Sea route, to create our own equipment and technologies for oil and gas industry and for machine building industry needed for the exploration of the resources of the Arctic. There are about 150 projects which are being realized or are proposed to realization. The total value of these projects is about $80 billion. The main investments are to come from the private sector. The flagship project of the international cooperation is the Yamal LNG. In August this year, our partners and friends from 14 countries visited settlement Sabeta in Yamal Peninsula and had the opportunity to see a modern airport capable to receive heavy airplanes, a sea terminal which is built for LNG carriers with a cargo capacity up to 172,000 cubic meters, and a gas processing factory to produce annually 6.5 million tons of LNG. The total volume of the investments in this project is about $26 billion, and this project is being realized on the basis of state-private partnership, and the contribution from the state budget was $2.5 billion. 4 years ago, in Sabeta settlement lived about 300 people, today 30,000. And it is only one example of today's developments in the Russian Arctic and of emerged business opportunities. I would like to highlight the readiness of my country to enhance mutually beneficial cooperation in the Russian Arctic, but we also expect the unbiased attitude to Russian companies interested in the Arctic projects in the other countries of the Arctic region. The goods produced in the Russian Arctic will be transported through the Northern Sea route. 7.4 million tons were delivered last year. This volume will be tripled in 3 years' time, and by the year 2025 could reach at least 35 million tons. The increased Arctic shipping requires huge investments in port infrastructure, connectivity, advanced navigation services, and of course, construction of icebreakers. By the year 2021, 3 new nuclear icebreakers are expected to operate along the Northern Sea route. Speaking about the prospects of the Northern Sea route, I would like to say that the overwhelming majority of goods to be transported through this route in the coming years will be of Russian origin or will have Russia as their destination. But the Northern Sea route has also a huge potential as the shortest way for transit between Asia and Europe. And this year, 6 vessels from China sailed through this route to Europe. Russia is committed to Paris Agreement and is preparing to ratify it. It is important to minimize the effect of the increased economic activities in the Arctic on the environment and the traditional way of living of the indigenous peoples. Our major oil and gas companies have announced that in the near future they will utilize 100% of the associated gas and exclude gas flaring totally. The Russian mining giant Nornickel is going to invest about $4 billion in the environmental projects in the Arctic by the year 2023. The emission will be drastically reduced. For example, last year, the emissions of sulfur dioxide in Kola Peninsula have been reduced by 22%. The biggest Russian shipping company, Sovcomflot, has recently announced that it will transfer tankers of Aframax class from diesel fuel to LNG. Sovcomflot is the first shipping company in the world which has taken such a decision. Russia considers the Arctic as a territory of dialogue and cooperation. There are no acute or possible disputes in the Arctic over the maritime boundaries or the access to mineral and biological resources either. The international law in general, UN Convention on the Law of the Sea in particular, are capable to ensure in the Arctic the rights of the coastal and the other states. In the Ilulissat Declaration 2008, the coastal states confirmed the adherence to international law and orderly settlement of the overlapping claims on the extended continental shelf in the Arctic. And the 10th anniversary of this document next year will provide a good occasion to jointly confirm that the provisions of this document are still valid. Russia trusts in the collective mechanism. The Arctic Council activities contributed immensely to keep the region free of conflict. The Arctic states in Fairbanks meeting of the Arctic Council in May this year once again confirmed their commitment to peace, stability, and cooperation. And Russia believes that partnership will shape the future of the Arctic. Thank you for your attention.